Assalamu alaikum, Amal fellows. I hope you are all doing well and healthy and feeling thrilled about today's graduation. I wish we were all together in person, but certainly are together in spirit. And you're probably wondering, what the heck is Benji doing in the forest? Which is a great question. The year has certainly been one of hardship and pandemic for so many. And for me, it has also been a year of transition as I moved back to the States, to New York, and also moved into a new role at Amal Academy, where I'm focused on developing the team, helping with strategy, and also exploring new projects. And the main project that we've been exploring is forest restoration and forest protection as a way to slow down climate change. And I've been spending a lot of time in the forest and learning a lot, and so I thought I could share some of the lessons that we've been learning, which might also apply to you as you transition out of the Amal Fellowship. And so the first lesson is really about the forest as an ecosystem. My fascination with trees actually began in Lahore with the banyan tree in Lawrence Garden, and really throughout Lahore and Karachi and other parts of Pakistan. I'm sure you know this tree better than I do. It's the one that has these aerial roots that grow down from the branches, and once they hit the ground become sort of additional trunks. And so you might have one banyan tree with 50 or 100 different trunks throughout the whole tree. And so I started asking as many people as I could about this tree. Like you, I went online to learn about it. I found books, and one of the books was called The Hidden Life of the Trees, which I found, I think, in Readings or The Last Word. And in that book, I found out that a tree in a forest has a chance of growing twice as big and living twice as long as a tree in a park or along the street. And the reason is a couple of things, actually. First, the root system of trees in a forest are all connected, and they're sharing resources or nutrients like carbon, like nitrogen, like different pathogens that are necessary for growth and longevity. The second is fascinating, which is volatile organic compounds. Trees communicate to each other through these VOCs. And so one tree that might be infected by insects could send out these VOCs or these chemicals to other trees, which would alert their defense system, and then they would produce the chemicals themselves that are necessary to fight off the insects once those insects reach that tree. The third thing, and perhaps the most fascinating, is this almost invisible fungi network underground that connects even trees from different species together, not just through the roots, but through this fungi network that connects the roots with other roots from other trees. And so you might have, say, an oak tree sending resources to an elm tree or to a redwood or to even a banyan tree, which is this kind of inner collaboration of a forest as opposed to the competition that scientists forever or for the longest time thought existed. And so the application to you and to the fellowship, of course you think of Amal family and your PA and your PM and your fellows, but my encouragement is to think of the entire ecosystem of the fellowship, the Amal team, the 5,000 plus alumni, the PepsiCo team, all of these different people and resources that are now a part of your ecosystem. My second encouragement around this, though, is even a little tougher, which is to think about your career as an ecosystem or as a forest. And instead of thinking of competition and people who are competing for jobs for you, how can you perhaps help them, share your resources with them in a way that will make them stronger, might somehow make you stronger or be paid back in the form of help later on down the line, and even if not, just help make the entire ecosystem more resilient and stronger. The second lesson that I wanted to share has to do with life after death. When I first started visiting forests, I was shocked and frankly saddened by the amount of death and huge trees that I saw that were dead on the forest floor. 3,000-year-old redwoods that were alive before the prophet or Jesus Christ or Abraham or Ibrahim were just lying there on the forest floor dead. And you know, if you have a tree that dies in the street, along the street or in a park, the park service comes and they clean it up and they remove it. But in the forest floor, they just stay there. And what I realized eventually was that actually life almost begins after death for many trees. Their value to the ecosystem and to the forest is in many ways almost greater after death because they're providing nutrients, they're decomposing into soil, they're providing habitat for birds and other animals, and they're really becoming a part of that ecosystem. And so my encouragement as fellows is to think about life where other people might see death, or to put it differently, to look for roads beyond dead ends. Of course, this applies to failure and challenges and rejection and roadblocks, but it also applies to looking for opportunities where other people might just see dead ends or death. As you read Jacqueline's book, she will talk about an entrepreneur who does this in Kenya, where they have literally found a way to take human waste, bathroom waste, and make fertilizer out of it. Babar Saab is another great example. He, before starting Lums, before starting Packages and all these different companies that he's involved with, his first venture was Milk Pack Limited, which everyone told him was a terrible idea, that milk was not a viable business. And yet he started that company anyway, and it grew into such a huge success. Even on the personal side, within the PepsiCo team, you have someone like Hatem Khan, who hopefully all of you know by now, who has been working a long time, just had a second daughter a couple years ago, and is at that point where many people would say, hey, you know, your health, your fitness kind of naturally declines and hits a dead end. But Hatem said, I'm gonna start running just a little bit, almost every day. And after a year, he ran an entire marathon. And so looking for opportunity after what other people might see dead ends. That's my encouragement for you. Maybe it's sectors that other people might not consider. Maybe it's job opportunities that people think are dead ends. Maybe it's volunteering that doesn't necessarily seem like it will lead to anything. How can you look for a road after that dead end? How can you look for life where other people might see death? The final and most difficult lesson I wanted to share with you has to do with returning to your roots. One of the forests I visited in California over the summer was 100,000 acres of catastrophic wildfire. It took us over 2 hours to drive from one end to the other, and it was completely ravished and destroyed millions and millions of trees that were dead. And since then, over the last couple of months, over 4 million acres of forest in California have burned to the ground, which is essentially 40 times the amount of the forest that I visited. A lot of this, of course, is because of climate change, because of drought, because of warming temperatures. But it's also because we have mismanaged the forest. Fire actually is an important part of the natural forest ecosystem, and this is something that we hadn't realized for the last 100 years. A fire for millennium would come through the forest, and it would do several things. First, it would remove a lot of the non-native invasive species and the thick underbrush and the grass. But it would also remove a lot of the unhealthy trees so that only the healthy trees would survive in sort of this natural selection process. And so after a fire would come through, what you would have is a healthier forest that would grow more resilient, and the trees would grow bigger and stronger. And then the next time, 20, 30 years later, a fire would come, that same process would happen over and over again. But about 100 years ago, we decided that all fire was bad, and so we decided to suppress whatever fire would come or put out whatever fire would come. And as a result, the forests, particularly in California, grew very thick, and all those unhealthy trees continued to survive. And now we have this huge condensed forest where if a fire comes through now, it will not only burn the unhealthy stuff, but it will reach into the canopy and will burn the healthy trees, and even the healthy trees will die, just like the forest that I saw. And so what does this have to do with you and the fellowship and your career? Well, with the fire, this is information that we didn't know, but that we actually forgot. We, meaning that indigenous communities have known this for hundreds and thousands of years. And in fact, nature has done this by itself for millions of years. And so my encouragement today is for you to return to your roots. What's the indigenous knowledge that you might know, but you might have forgotten, or that people around you might not appreciate or see or recognize? My encouragement is to return to your roots, which I mean sort of metaphorically, as in return to your roots, your ancestors, but I also mean quite literally to the roots that are underneath you and in many ways that are inside of you. This is, in my mind, why Idisab is so effective, is because he had that indigenous knowledge. He believed in himself. He believed in the lessons that life taught him, and he didn't listen to all of the people around him who told him he was foolish or he was crazy or he was doing things the wrong way. But he was so strongly rooted in himself. And in many ways, this is the advice or the encouragement that we gave at the beginning of the fellowship, when we said that the fellowship isn't really about teaching you anything. It's really about helping you discover what's already inside of you and bringing that out. This process of self-discovery, of becoming who it is that you are, of removing all of the masks that society tries to put on you and helping you identify who it is that you really are and who you want to become. I know it's difficult. I know it will be really hard. It's a lifelong process, but I hope that you remember we're here to support you. We're part of your ecosystem. The Amal team, the alumni, your fellow fellows, the PepsiCo team, this entire ecosystem is here to support you. And lastly, and most importantly, I hope you remember that a forest is made from just one tiny acorn or one tiny seed. And you are that acorn and you are that seed. We believe in you. I know you believe in yourself. We're wishing you the best journey full of learning and lessons and growth and even some setbacks, which hopefully you will also grow from. And inshallah, the journey will be meaningful and you can find meaning inside of that. Godspeed, wishing you all the best, and hope to see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.